My name is Trinidad Salazar and I am 63 years old. I spent the whole afternoon ironing the soft blue dress my late husband always loved, the one with the gentle sleeves and the quiet sheen. My son Lionel had invited me to dinner in Monterey. Just a little family gathering, he said over the phone after months of silence. I let myself hope that peace had finally arrived. When I stepped into the restaurant, the air was thick with expensive perfume and grilled meat. The table was already full. Lionel sat beside his wife Renata, her parents across from them, laughter flowing like the wine in their glasses. My grandson Gabriel was coloring the menu with crayons. No one noticed me at first. Renata finally looked up. "Oh, Trinidad, there you are," she said with a smile that stretched too wide. She pointed to a chair at the very end. There was no place setting, only a half-empty bread basket, crumbs scattered like they had already decided what little was mine. I sat in silence. Lionel gave me a quick nod, the kind you give a stranger you don't really want to greet. The waiter appeared, pen ready. Before I could speak, Renata slid the bread basket toward me. "We already ordered for you," she said softly, as if doing me a kindness. Lionel didn't even look up. "You should have eaten before coming," he added. His in-laws chuckled politely. Gabriel froze, his small hand clutching a crayon. I reached for a piece of bread, broke it in half and placed one part on his little plate. His confused, ashamed eyes met mine. I smiled. Understood. It wasn't the smile people expect from someone humiliated. It was the smile that says a clock has just started ticking. Conversation drifted back to vacation plans and wine list. The noise blurred. All I heard was the scrape of forks on china and the calm, steady beat of my own blood. I had built this boy's entire world. His home, his business. And somehow I had become the guest who didn't belong. When the waiter returned to confirm the orders, I stood. The chair scraped the floor with a clean, sharp sound. "Cancel any pending orders," I said calmly, and put everything already served on my son's tab. After all, he's celebrating his choices, not mine. The table went dead silent. That was the moment everything began to move. I drove home without turning on the radio. The highway was dark, every traffic light holding me longer than necessary. I didn't cry. I simply let the silence stretch. When Lionel was 10, we used to drive these same streets after his baseball games. His father, Raphael, would sit beside me humming old songs while our boy slept in the back. After Raphael's accident, it was just the two of us. Bills, grief, and a child asking too many questions about heaven that I didn't always know how to answer. I learned to smile even when I was exhausted, because someone had to teach him the world didn't end with a funeral. Years later, when Lionel said he wanted to open a restaurant, I didn't hesitate. I took out a second mortgage on the house, cashed the small life insurance policy Raphael left, and handed my son a check for 200,000 pesos. "One day, Mom," he promised, "you'll have your own table in my place." For a while I did. I paid bills, answered phones, even baked bread when the kitchen was short-staffed. The first year he called every day. Then Renata arrived. Tailored suits, big dreams, smiles that turned cold the moment no one was watching. One afternoon she said, "Maybe it would be better if you stopped coming by. Clients keep asking who you are. They think you're staff." I laughed. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. I began erasing myself little by little, like someone fading from a photograph. Birthdays became text messages. Holidays became courtesy invitations. My name disappeared from the restaurant's website. But I kept the papers, contracts, transfers, proof of every peso I poured in. Old habit from the years when trust felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. That night I laid those folders on the kitchen table. They looked like nothing. I knew better. A week before the dinner, Lionel had called while I watered the porch plants. His voice was careful, testing the temperature. "Renata thought it would be nice if we all had dinner Friday," he said. "Just family. No fuss." I dried my hands. "That sounds lovely," I answered. "It's nothing special, Mom. Just celebrating family." It had been almost 4 months, 120 days, since his last call. Still, I wanted to believe him. I spent the following days ironing my dress, polishing Raphael's old watch, framing a wedding photo of us that Lionel used to keep on his desk when he was small. At the restaurant, the hostess asked if I was with the Salazar party. I nodded, stomach warm with hope. But when she led me to the table, the plates were already served, wine poured, Renata laughing at something her father said. Lionel saw me first. His smile faltered. "Mom, you're here." "Yes," I said, setting the framed photo beside my purse. "I brought something for you." Renata's eyes flicked to the photo, then to the waiter. "We ordered a few minutes ago," she said lightly. "Hope you don't mind. 5 plates. 5 perfect cuts of steak. And at the end, my place, nothing but empty space." The laughter around the table was soft, practiced, the kind that never reaches the eyes and settles cold in your chest. Gabriel drummed his fork against his napkin, pretending not to notice there was no plate in front of me. Renata leaned toward her father and whispered something that made him smile. Lionel scrolled on his phone. No one asked if I wanted to order. I took the bread basket and placed a slice on Gabriel's plate. "Here, Mijo. You take it." He shook his head. "It's yours, Grandma." The waiter appeared at my side, polite and patient. "Ma'am, would you like to order?" Renata answered for me, smiling at the waiter. "She's fine. My mother-in-law is just keeping us company." Lionel nodded without looking up. "Yeah, she's good." Something inside me settled, like a door closing softly. I placed my napkin on the table, straightened my shoulders and said, "Actually, I'm not fine." The waiter froze. Lionel looked up. Renata's smile wavered. "Cancel any pending orders," I said, voice calm, almost tender. "And charge everything already served to my son's account. He seems to have forgotten who paid for his first restaurant." For a long moment no one moved. Renata's cheeks went pale. Lionel blinked like he was hearing words in a language he never learned from me. "Mom," he started, half warning. I turned to the waiter. "Thank you. That will be all." He nodded quickly and disappeared. The table stayed silent except for the faint clink of silverware from nearby diners pretending not to stare. Renata whispered, "Trinidad, there's no need to make a scene." I smiled. "Oh darling, this isn't a scene. This is clarity." Then I picked up my purse, lifted Raphael's framed photo, fingers brushing the glass, and stood slowly, letting the movement draw every eye in the room. Gabriel watched me as I passed the bar and stepped out into the cool Monterey night. For the first time that evening I felt full of something that wasn't food. The knock came just after 9 the next morning, sharp, impatient. I opened the door to find Lionel on the threshold, jaw tight. Renata stood behind him clutching a folder. "We need to talk," he said. I stepped aside. "Then talk." They walked in like they still owned the place. Renata placed the folder on the table and slid a sheet toward me. "This is last night's bill," she said. 12,000 pesos. You made a spectacle, so pay your share." I looked at the paper, then at her. "I see." Lionel crossed his arms. "You embarrassed us in front of clients." Renata's parents were mortified. "What were you thinking?" I took a slow breath, walked to the cabinet and pulled out a thick brown envelope. "I was thinking of this," I said, setting it on the table. Renata frowned. "What is that?" "Receipts. Contracts. Bank transfers. Proof of who actually financed your restaurant. Every peso of the 200,000 I gave you 8 years ago." Lionel's eyes widened. "Mom." I cut him off gently. "You forgot." "I didn't." Renata let out a thin, trembling laugh. "You wouldn't dare make this public. You'd ruin the family name." I held her gaze. "Try me." The silence that followed was long and clean. The air itself felt different. Lionel finally spoke. "You're serious?" "Completely," I said. "And if you're not here to apologize, take that bill to whoever ordered the wine." "I already paid for the table once, Lionel." "Once was enough." He swallowed hard. "You can't." "I can," I said. "Because it's still half mine. You never changed the ownership papers. I let you believe you had. I wanted to see how far greed would take you." Renata's face flushed. "You're bluffing." I opened the folder and slid a notarized copy of the partnership agreement toward her. "Then you should have read the fine print." They stared at the paper like it might burn the wood. Renata's voice cracked. "You'll regret this." "No," I said quietly. "You will." They left without another word. The door closed hard behind them. For the first time in years the house felt like mine again. By Monday morning I was sitting across from my lawyer, Carla Campos. Sharp voice, steady eyes, a silence that cuts through noise. "I have every document," I told her. "Every transfer, every signature. My name was never removed from the partnership." Carla nodded. So you still own 40%? And if they've been using the business for personal expenses, we can freeze operations for review. Her tone was calm, almost kind. I signed the papers without hesitation. 2 days later, the news traveled faster than I expected. Someone from the Monterey Business Council called about financial discrepancies. Renata had filed years of reports that didn't add up. Unpaid suppliers, duplicate invoices. Quiet accountant Marisol had forwarded proof. That night my phone rang. Lionel's name flashed. I answered. Mom. His voice broke. What have you done? Protected what's mine, I said. They froze our accounts. I can't pay staff. I can't buy supplies. Good thing you still have those 100-peso stakes, I replied. Silence. I heard his breathing, heavy, ragged. Can you stop this? He finally asked. One call. So, you always taught me to be fair. I looked at the framed photo of Raphael on the shelf. Justice isn't free, Lionel. It costs exactly what was taken from me. There was a pause, then the sound of glass breaking just before he hung up. The next day Carla called. The review is official. Investigators confirmed falsified entries. We'll see you next week for the next steps. I thanked her, hung up, and stood by the window. Rain had turned the street into quiet gray mirrors. That afternoon a car door slammed. Lionel stood soaked at the bottom of the porch steps, eyes red. Please, he said. It's gone too far. Renata is losing her mind. She says you want to destroy us. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. You built it alone, son. I just stopped pretending I didn't see. She's my wife. I studied his face, the same one I wiped tears from when he was 5 and skinned his knee. Humiliation, I said softly, isn't when people see the truth. It's when you already know it. He looked down, shoulders shaking, then turned and walked back into the rain. I stayed in the doorway a long time, hand on the frame, listening as the storm faded. Before stepping inside, I whispered to the empty air. Actions balance themselves, son. You taught me that. 3 days later he came again. I was making coffee when the knock came, soft, almost hopeful. I opened the door. Lionel stood alone, clothes wrinkled, face hollow from sleepless nights. Mom, he said, voice small. Can I come in? I stepped aside. He sat at the kitchen table staring at his hands. They closed the restaurant, he whispered. Renata left with her parents. We're being audited. I don't even know where to start fixing this. I poured coffee and slid the cup toward him. You start, I said, by telling the truth. He rubbed his forehead. I never meant for it to go this far. I just wanted to build something big, something that would make you proud. But Renata kept saying we needed more investors, more image, more everything. I let her handle the books because I didn't want to fight. You didn't want to lead, I said quietly. He shrank. I thought if I kept the peace, everything would work out. It went far because you stayed still, I told him. He looked up then, eyes the same pale green as his father's, red-rimmed. I was afraid of losing her, he said. And I ended up losing everything else. I nodded slowly. Fear is cheaper than pride, Lionel. But in the end it costs the same. He gave one broken laugh. You sound like Dad. I almost smiled. Maybe he got tired of watching us repeat his lessons. Lionel reached for my hand. Mom, I don't know how to make this right. You can't fix what's already broken, I said. But you can stop breaking what's left. We sat in silence a long while. The house creaked softly around us the way it did when he used to sneak out of bed as a child. When he stood, he looked older than I had ever seen him. I'm going to do better, he said. If there's still a way to earn your trust. I watched him walk to the door, heavy shoulders, slow steps. He didn't look back. This time neither did I. I was pruning the rose bushes when a car screeched to a stop. Renata stepped out, heels striking the pavement like gunshots, hair wild, eyes bloodshot. You ruined us, she screamed, voice shaking with rage. I set down the shears. Good morning to you too. She stormed closer. Do you have any idea what you've done? The restaurant is gone. Investors walked away. Your precious son can't even look people in the eye. We're finished. I wiped my hands on a rag, tone even. No, Renata. I didn't ruin you. I just stopped feeding your arrogance. She blinked, stunned by the calm. You think you're the righteous one? You shamed this family. Everyone knows what you did. Everyone, I repeated. How curious. No one seemed to notice when I paid your debts. When I worked in that kitchen unpaid. Or when you told me to stop coming because I didn't fit the image. Her lip trembled. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said. You built your life on borrowed pride and called it success. The loan just came due. Renata's fury cracked into sobs. She covered her face, shoulders heaving, cries tearing through the morning. I loved him, she whispered. I just wanted us to look successful. I sighed. Then maybe this is what honesty looks like. She turned stumbling back to the car. When the door slammed, the echo lasted longer than the engine's roar. The rose bushes swayed gently in the breeze. I bent, picked up a fallen petal and brushed it from my fingers. Some things once pruned never grow back the same. 3 weeks passed before I heard from him again. No calls, no visits, just a plain white envelope in the mailbox with my name in Lionel's careful handwriting. Inside was a short letter and a check. I can't undo what I've done. I was blind and proud and let the wrong voice guide me. You were right about everything, the restaurant, Renata, me. If you can ever forgive me, use this to replace what I took from you. If not, I understand. With love, you know. I ran my thumb over the ink, the familiar slant of his letters, the tiny smudge where he must have hesitated. The check was for 50,000 pesos, probably everything he had left. I sat at the kitchen table a long time, the same table where I once helped him balance his first ledger, his small hands trying to write as neatly as mine. Then I whispered, "You owe me nothing." I tore the check cleanly in half, the paper sighing between my fingers. The letter I folded carefully and slipped behind the glass of the old wedding photo. Raphael and me, smiling like love and hard work could hold the whole world. Sunlight touched the edge of the frame, and for a moment their faces seemed to glow. I left it there beside the coffee cup that still smelled of morning. Monterey afternoons have a stillness I once mistook for loneliness. Now it feels like peace. That night I sat on the porch Raphael built years ago, watching the porch light shine against the soft dusk. He wired it himself. Said it should always face the street so no one coming home ever had to walk in darkness. The boards creaked. Gabriel appeared barefoot with a glass of lime water and settled beside me. Mom says you always leave that light on, he said. Even when you go to sleep. I nodded. Your grandfather put it there for me once. But now it's for someone else. He tilted his head. For who? For the woman they tried to leave hungry, I said softly. He frowned, thinking. I smiled. Or maybe for anyone who's ever been told they don't deserve a seat at the table. Sometimes one light is enough to remind them they do. Gabriel looked toward the river. The reflection trembled like molten gold on the water. He took my hand. Will you ever turn it off? Not tonight, I said. The air was warm and still. In the distance the city lights came on one by one, joining mine. The porch light kept burning. Soft, steady, forgiving. For recuerdos de Isabel.